There was some controversy over the week about the arena that they were in this week. Now, they've been running the smaller buildings, and we said, yes, they should do that because when they were in the NBA arenas with 3,000 people, it looked sad and it was a needless expense of whatever. And even though I've, mentioned the Brady Music Center in Cincinnati or whatever in a tongue in cheek fashion the other day, at least those places look still professional. It's the kind of like the Hammerstein Ballroom effect in New York with the cool architecture. You can get something out of a lot of these places, right? But now they've started, what is it, a 2-week residency in the historic 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. And boy, howdy, this don't do them any favors because I'm sorry for the people that, in that part of the country that somehow have the fond memories of the ECW arena, which is what this is. But not only does it, now that it's been renovated 15 times, it still looks like shit on camera. It's low rent. It's like they're in a warehouse. That building is the biggest toilet that I've ever worked in. And imagine how much fucking ground, Brian, that takes in.
Yeah. No, you've been in a lot of Philadelphia.
No, I've been in a lot of fucking toilets. Not even all over the world, but either it was a shitty facility in terms of being out in the middle of nowhere or horrible Houma, Louisiana with a shitty locker room in the middle of a mud field. Or, some times the facility might be okay, but goddamn, the neighborhood is the shits. I remember for Ring of Honor years ago, I was at the fairgrounds in Detroit, which didn't seem to be a flourishing location. But for a combination of the worst neighborhood you've ever been in a major city and the biggest shithole of a building, this one is it. And I don't know what for some people the magic is about the thing. You were there before I was. You were there in the 90s.
Well, you were there in the 90s too, but I was there before you, yes.
Well, they snuck me in and out and I wasn't there long. But I spent 12 hours a fucking day there numerous times in 2009 and 2010 when Ring of Honor was doing that HDNet show. And the reason why I said that the building caused some controversy this past week is because they had the union picketing the building and picketing AEW for the production that they're doing there for not holding up union standards or whatever. More on that in a minute. But that's the thing. Have you been in the locker room area of that building?
I have not.
The guy that owned that place or owned it or ran it or whatever, the guy that was doing stuff there, I remember his name was Roger, right? They always talk Roger, ask Roger. And in that building, they were just doing, you can't say renovations, that maybe remodel, like the locker room walls were just wallboard put up on studs at his fancy. If he wanted to create a new wall, one time I went in there was a goddamn window in the room. There hadn't been a window before, but it looked out onto a goddamn big empty fucking room with nothing in it. As whether they're changing things. And there was a stairway that went to nowhere. And there was like 2 toilets in the entire locker room area. Sometimes they all didn't work. But the point being, Roger would just build this shit, these hallways to nowhere. When he had an idea, there was no code enforcement. There was no permits done like you have to do at a big city. He was just doing this shit. So I can easily believe that there is no chance that they have ever had union labor on a wrestling show that aired from that building before. The ECW was paying a union or all these other indies and these hardcore groups. So I'm not championing Tony Khan's cause, but if they're going to picket him just because they know he's got some money, but in this dump that seats 850 people, If nobody else has been using this union labor, why should he? I guess that is what the statement that I'm making first and foremost. You see what I'm saying, Brian?
I do. It seats 1,300. Why didn't they pick it when WWE ran there with NXT?
Well, and also, who said it seats 1,300? Did you see 1,300 people there? And it was packed because it's a big fucking room with chairs on the floor. I don't believe 1,300 people.
Well, I'll tell you, the bleachers are less packed now than they were then.
Did you even see bleachers? Or is it all just flat? I remember Paul had bleachers across from the deal, but I did.
Yeah,
did I miss bleachers?
They had bleachers on this week's Dynamite.
Well, maybe the bleach got in my eyes. But that's the point, is between that and the neighborhood. And again, you can tell me probably better than I know why the fuck that building is there in that place, but it sits under an interstate. When you're out in the back parking lot where guys would find used syringes and condoms in the parking lot inside the barbed wire fence, you're standing underneath the interstate with goddamn semi trucks going over the top of you. And it was next to the road that came to the building was gravel. It wasn't paved. And it was next to a outlet store of some description that sold men's suit jackets with 2 buttons on one side and 3 buttonholes on the other side. And I don't know, it would.
Johan's office was over there too.
Well, would this whole building or complex of buildings have been condemned years ago if not for people continuing to run wrestling events in this building?
No. Well, yeah, remember, they had a pretty successful midnight bingo operation going there for a while.
Oh, I forgot about the bingo.
No, I mean, I'm serious. I was talking to someone recently about it, and they said, yeah, I remember leaving ECW. I never even got to see this. I remember leaving the ECW arena, there'd be just a line of like old women waiting to get in. You know, this is late at night.
What old woman? What old woman would want to go there in the dark?
Well, bingo. I mean, bingo's a big draw.
Jesus Christ. So is fucking attempted murder on the streets. Anyway, the point is, if AEW, I don't think they were mistreating anybody any worse than any of the other fucking promotions that have run that building, and there's many of them that have. But if they want a nice warehouse that's been customized for a very little amount of money, they ought to call the new OVW owners over in West Faversham and rent the Davis Arena. It looks better on TV than this thing did. Anyway, should we start talking about the show?
Okay, that was the running down of Philadelphia and the ECW arena, or the 2300 arena.
I didn't say anything bad about Philadelphia, although it has never held the same place in my heart since they closed all those Ribbit locations. But no, this building.
No, it's a historic place. So they say if you close your eyes and squint in the right light, you could see Gino Moore letting air out of tires. The ghost of Gino Moore.
Yeah, a tornado came through there last month that did over $3 million worth of improvements.
Hey, I'm sure you're going to bring it up during the review, but we're talking about the building and the arena. The one, I actually didn't mind the look. I liked it. But again, I'm sentimental towards early to mid 90s ECW, and I was there for some of it.
Oh, good Lord.
But the part
that jerks at my heartstrings.
The part that I thought looked the worst was Claudio's entrance, when you realize that the crew is all just set up under the overpass.
Yes. That's they wouldn't even, because of the Dick the Boozer's, ego, and they have to do their entrance. They had to go backstage, and there is no backstage. It's just piles of junk and a fucking parking lot. But